We hear the words self-love and acceptance bandied around a lot in the world of self-development and the influencer world. Everywhere you go on social media these days, people are talking about loving yourself and accepting yourself. And acceptance is not a word that really resonates with me. I prefer self-respect, and I'm going to tell you why in this podcast. For those of you who are new to me, hello, I am Niamh. I am a woman's confidence coach. I help women who feel like they've lost their identity or feel anxious or stressed or overwhelmed because of all that life is throwing at them. Not because they can't cope, but because they have been conditioned to please everybody else and put themselves last. And so I help them become an unburdened woman, the woman who puts themselves first and foremost in their life, and then can give to others from love, from overflow, with joy, rather than from exhaustion. So what exactly is the self? We all have an idea of who we are and what our self is. And we're all told that we should love that self. We should love who we are. And we should accept who we are. Now, I'm going to work today, or talk today to you, about physical appearance, because this is the easiest way to understand the concept. When we look in the mirror and we look at ourselves, and we see our bodies, and we see how we think we are, we're looking at ourselves through all the thoughts and the beliefs and the opinions we have about ourselves. And they are often not truly ours. They come from the conditioning. They come from the things we heard growing up. If somebody called you thunder thighs, or somebody criticized your stomach, or called you a beanpole, or anything along those lines, those are the words that stick, and that's the filter, the lens, if you like, through which you see yourself when you look in the mirror. And you're told to look in the mirror and to accept what you see. You're told that you cannot possibly begin to love yourself and to create the abundance of self-love and to live from that love from yourself and to say no to the things you want to do and to develop your self-worth and your self-esteem if you don't accept yourself. And I know from my own experience that it can be very hard to accept what you see in the mirror if it's not the body you want. If you're not doing the things for yourself to achieve the body that you would like, and maybe sometimes the body that you actually want, that your head tells you, because you've looked at all the social media and you've looked at the magazines and you've looked at the actors on TV and you think you ought to look a certain way. And maybe, just maybe, sometimes that's never going to align with what you actually see in the mirror. So acceptance does come into play. We do have to accept that we are built a certain way and that's possibly never going to change, because we can't change our bone structure. I, for example, can't change the fact that I have what would be referred to as childbearing hips. I have a wide pelvis. I am a woman. It's expected. And it stood me in good stead. I gave birth to 3 children. But for years I felt like my hips should be narrower, because that's what I was seeing in the magazines. But I have now accepted that this is how my body is, and I am actually fitter and stronger than I have ever been in all of my life right now. I actually have muscles, like real proper defined muscles in my arms. Yeah, I'm celebrating that one. Because all through my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, I didn't think I could ever have muscles in my arms. And now I do. Because I've worked on myself, on my self-love, on all the different aspects of self. And today we're going to look, or I'm going to talk you through one very important aspect of the self, and that is self-respect. Now, what do I mean when I talk about self-respect? It means how you look at yourself, how you see yourself, and how you hold yourself, despite what other people expect or think of you. So you can be true to who you believe you are, who you know you are. And even if sometimes we feel lost in life, or we feel like we've lost ourselves, we do really know who we are. We've just allowed everything else to dictate who we should be, or what we should do, or how we should be. But the majority of us do actually know who we are. We've always known who we are. And having self-respect allows you to stand strongly in who you are, to withstand the expectations and the opinions of others, and know that they cannot erode you. They cannot change you unless you wish to change or be changed. Self-respect comes before self-worth, self-esteem, self-love, self-value. And I'm going to give you an example here of how self-respect works. Again, coming back to the physical body. Because I would look in the mirror and I would see a body I quite frankly was not proud of. I would see a body that had borne the brunt of years of bad food. I've already mentioned in several podcasts that I had a habit of family-sized bars of dairy milk. I would eat one a night. I wasn't exercising, or at least not regularly enough to make a difference, or not the kind of exercise that would make a difference. I don't consider running for the bus to be sufficient exercise. I mean, back then I did. And I would stand in front of the mirror and I would look at myself, and I would dislike how my hips looked. I would dislike the fact that my arms were flabby and floppy, and that I didn't appear to have any strength. And I couldn't accept myself. And the reason I couldn't accept myself was because I didn't respect myself. And I learned to respect myself on my yoga mat when I learned that my body could move in ways I didn't think it could. That I learned that I did have strength in my legs, that I could stand up and I could do a warrior sequence. That maybe I couldn't do the most complicated poses, but I could do the basics. And I could do them week in, week out. When I began to realize that I could walk everywhere, and that my feet would carry me, and my legs would carry me. And I began to see my body not as just a tool, but an intrinsic part of me. I began to see my body as the miracle it actually is. I began to look deeper into how my body works, and the internet is a wonderful tool here. I was able to look at muscles and tendons and ligaments, and that's not for everybody, but I love a good rabbit hole. And so I was able to see if there was something going on in my back, that actually that might be caused by something going on in my foot. And how if I worked differently, or if I stood differently, or if I adjusted something, that made all the difference. So I began to develop a real respect for the mechanics of my body, how my body actually worked, how I woke up every morning, how my heart beat all by itself, how I was able to breathe without even thinking about it, how even talking just comes naturally. I don't have to think about that. I have a thought, I want to express it, I open my mouth, out it comes. I want to pick something up, I reach my hand out, I grab it. And we don't think about those processes. They just come naturally to us. But I began to actually think about my body and the miracle my body is. And the more I realized how much of a miracle my body is, I realized that in order to maintain that miracle, to maintain my body, I needed to have some respect for it. And the more I delved into this, the more respect I had for how our actual body works. And as my respect for how my body works grew, my eating habits changed, because I realized that I could not expect my body to continue supporting me and working well and being, relatively pain-free for another 3, 4, I don't know, 5 decades, probably not 5 decades, if I was going to continue to feed it junk. If I was going to continue to abuse it by slouching around on a sofa all day and not getting proper exercise. I mean, at this point I was doing yoga several times a week, but I've added in walking. I've added in not weight training, I don't do weights, some resistance training. So just using body weight. And I have changed my diet hugely. So now dairy milk does not feature in my diet at all, except on maybe very, very rare occasions. Because I feed my body good food, because I want to support it. I want to live a long time and be pain-free and mobile. Because I have developed such a sense of self-respect for myself that I can't allow myself to eat junk. That's not to say I don't ever. Yes, of course I do. I will have a meal out with friends occasionally, and I will eat something that I wouldn't normally eat, and that's okay. But when we develop respect for ourselves, we can no longer allow ourselves to do the things that cause us stress or anxiety or misery or pain or any of those things. And I'm not saying it's a miracle cure. I'm not saying that you will never ever do anything again that doesn't cause you stress, because that wouldn't be true. But when we develop self-respect, that's our foundation. That allows us to say no to the things that aren't good for us. That allows us to say no to other people. That allows us to stand firm in our own knowing, our own understanding, and our own love for ourselves when other people express opinions about us, or when other people have expectations of us that are beyond where we want to go. When you have a really good and deep sense of self-respect, you can unburden yourself from others' opinions and others' expectations. And that's the distinction that made things work for me. Self-respect before self-acceptance.